Why?
You said you're going to let Democrats appoint their own members to the committee, but you've also indicated you're not going to let them.
I was very clear early on. Let me phrase something very direct to you. If you got the briefing I got from the FBI, you wouldn't have Swalwell on any committee. And you're going to tell me other Democrats couldn't fill that slot? He cannot get a security clearance in the private sector. So would you like to give him a government clearance? Nope. You asked me questions about Santos. You asked the questions about Swalwell. Not only was he getting a clearance, he was inside an intel committee. He had more information than the majority of all the members. Did you ever raise that issue? No.
Nope.
Which you should have. You're going to tell me there's 200 other Democrats that couldn't fill that slot, but they kept him on it? The only way that they even knew it came forward is when they went to nominate him to the Intel Committee. And then the FBI came and told the leadership then, he's got a problem. And they kept him on. That jeopardized all of us. Adam Schiff openly lied to the American public.
All right, so we're listening into new House Speaker,
Yep.
Kevin McCarthy.
Oh,
He's
you're
continuing taking questions from reporters, a lot of questions from reporters. This is his first weekly press conference as Speaker. Let's talk about some of what has been discussed.
Well, I'll tell you
already.
what, it doesn't mean, let me see where we are here. It doesn't mean that McCarthy is now all of a sudden totally trustworthy, that all of the things that people have said about him for the last little while are wrong, but it's reassuring because that's blistering. That's as blistering, what's the word? That's as blistering a public evisceration as you can ever possibly get. He said Adam Schiff. It's funny. He said, I think I heard a T at the end of Adam Schiff. And then he also said Kep without the T at the end. He had a very weird pronunciation. But he, promises made, promises kept. I wanted to start with a Justin Trudeau. I wanted to start with an Omar Algebra, but I said, he's growing on me. He's starting off well. You know, there's the whole thing where once upon a time he was being very, very hard. I would say unfairly hard, and I would say unrealistically critical of the Trump January 6th insurrection. The most unarmed insurrection you've ever seen, but a violent protest in certain pockets, undoubtedly. He might be a politician that floats with the tide, like most of them, like 99.9% of them. Tell you one politician who doesn't drift with the current, Maxime Bernier, for whatever you agree or disagree, and some people might think it's a flaw, some people might think it's a quality, a character asset. Maxime Bernier does not drift with the political currents. He stands there like a beam that has been affixed in a foundation. Most of them are like that. So back in the day when January 6th was the new 9/11, the new Pearl Harbor, it was the greatest attack on democracy. Yeah, McCarthy, maybe in order to save his political skin, he had to go along with that manufactured narrative. Now, I think we're getting to the point where the political tide is not putting up with this corrupt bull garbage. Adam Schiff, Shifty Eyes McSchiff for brains. Schiff, I said, by the way. Pathological, proven, sociopathic liar. Eric Swalwell, whose greatest defense on Twitter is 3 FBI agents or whatever, confirmed I did nothing wrong with my relationship with Fang, a Chinese spy. Who was the other one he was nailing there? Schiff, Swalwell. I forget the third one. It's becoming politically popular to say enough is enough with this crap, and maybe McCarthy is either growing a spine or just going along with whatever the political drift is now. Okay, so hold on. I refreshed Viva's Rumble channel, and there was a new stream up. Son da beasting. Am I running 2 streams now? There were technical issues before the stream started, people. It wasn't. I'm not saying it wasn't me to point a finger. I will take responsibility where I can, because that's how I fix a problem. This problem apparently was a technical problem on Rumble's end, and I think they resolved it. But now I hear myself twice. But I was trying to do a test to set up a new stream to see if it was the same problem with that new stream. So I don't know now if I have 2 streams running on Rumble. It is Viva Mondays. Meanwhile, in Twitter, we're on the cover page of Rumble. Yes. my content. I'm going to kill the second stream, which had a number 2 in front of it. Actually, let me just see if it's live. It is live. It is live. I'm going to tell everyone go to the other stream. Sorry about the confusion. So I set up another stream. It seems that there are people there because I deleted it from the StreamYard, but I didn't end it on Rumble. So I'm ending it. Delete. Confirm. Are you sure you want to delete this video? Deleted. Hopefully everybody figures out how to go to the stream. Viva Mondays, meanwhile in Canada, and the Twitter files, Pfizer files. So tonight, by the way, it's when I said it was something going to be something new, it's not because I was going to screw things up like many people think I've done. Tonight, I'm doing something new because I'm interviewing someone from Canada. You've seen him in the chat. You've seen him in the chat a lot. He's been around a lot, and he's always had actually quite insightful things to say. And it's a weird thing. We have digital relationships with people we've never met before. And as much as you can never know someone who you've never met, I know who Chet Chisolm is. I've seen him in the chat. I've seen him in the rants. We have become connected with mutual people, and I know that in the chat he says, "Talk to me about my vaccine injury," because I believe I have been vaccine injured, and I have some interesting things to tell you. I'm from Canada. I used to be an EMS, or I am an EMS currently. Potentially, I'm not sure what his work status is, but we're going to get to it. Where I feel a little bit naked in all of this is I want to interview an individual I've never met before. I want to make sure the individual is who they say they are, short of asking for, a picture of a license, which still won't tell me anything. Although I think I even got more of that information in my due diligence. And then at the end of the day, you never know. So people are going to come under the spotlight to share their story, and they're going to be subjected to the scrutiny of the interwebs. And I do the best I can. And, hopefully that it proves to be good enough. And if there are issues, we'll deal with it afterwards. So we're going to interview Chet Chisolm tonight, who's going to talk to us about his vaccine injury, what's going on I believe he's in Nova Scotia, life as an EMS, and the work that he's doing for CARES, which is a website that's been set up. It's basically the Canadian version of VAERS. It's the Canadian Adverse Events Reaction Site, CARES. You know what it is. It's the Canadian VAERS. So that's it. If people are watching now, it should be good. Now the numbers are going up on the right channel, which is good, because I think people might have been on the wrong one, or there was a second stream that was called number 2, Viva Mondays. I didn't kill that link before I started this, so people might have been going there. This is the good one. While everyone comes and trickles in, let me make sure we're live on YouTube. We are. And before we get going, because I love having sponsors, but I hate doing sponsors. I hate doing the ad reads when the guest is there. But this is a sponsored video, and I thank the good people at the 2 sponsors for today's stream. You know them because I use them and I do them often. Enviro Cleanse and I was going to say Field of Dreams, Field of Greens. And now I realize I'm not even sure I ever realized that was the connection. So we're going to start with Field of Greens, people. Field of Greens, I enjoy using the product that I sponsor because it makes it very easy to sponsor. I don't have my container on the table. Field of Greens, people are talking about a lot of stuff to be healthy, exercise, yada yada. Actually, in the States, the pediatric associations are talking about surgery and drugs for obese teenagers, obese kids. The kids are overweight, kids are unhealthy. What does the pediatric association say? Well, give them medication and give them surgery. No, how about you just lead a healthy lifestyle? Exercise, calories in, calories out, but mostly diet. People don't appreciate this. You're supposed to eat 5 to 6 servings of raw fruits and vegetables a day, and most people don't have 5 to 6 servings of raw fruits and vegetables a day. What a solution is? Second best solution? First of all, eat your vegetables and your fruits. Second best solution, Field of Greens, desiccated, it's powdered fruits and vegetables. I wish I had my thing here so I could show you. powdered fruits and vegetables. It's basically like pulverized beef jerky of the vegetable nature and fruits. You get the antioxidants, you get the nutrients. 1 scoop is 1 serving of fruits and vegetables. If you do it twice a day, it's a healthy habit. It's good for you. Better than a lot of stuff. You go to fieldofgreens.com, promo code VIVA will get you 15% off your first subscription and 10% off for your first order, 10% off a subscription. It looks like swamp water, but it tastes great. And there's a reason why wetlands are the nutrient breeding grounds of the natural world. Drinking this is the nutrient breeding grounds of your body. Do it. It's healthy. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code. And then speaking of health, healthy body, healthy air. We'll do that one later. I'm gonna bring in we're gonna bring in Chet now. Okay, so this is it, people. Viva is spiritually naked now. I chatted with Chet for 5 minutes before going live, above and beyond texting and messages and super chats and rumble rants and all the stuff. I know him, but I am naked to the world. And Chet Chisolm is also going to be naked to the world now because he's going to come and tell his story of what's going on in Canada. Subject to all of the scrutinizing eyes of the interwebs. 3, 2, 1. Chet, sir. Battle.
I can confirm I'm wearing pants, so I'm not that naked. So
I'm wearing disgusting shorts, and I'm not even going to show them. Chet.
Yeah.
Let's hear this. I mean, so people are going to be watching right now, have no idea who you are, have no idea why your story is important, and what you're doing in Canada. And let's try to raise awareness, share what's going on. Who are you? What's going on?
Yeah, so my name's Chet Chisolm. I'm from Nova Scotia. I've been a paramedic for going on 12 years now. If you wanted confirmation, there's a certification I got for 10 years of service just the other day, for being a full-time. Or I can go grab a uniform if you want. But I've been around in a lot of the communities. I've talked to you, like you've seen me in the chat a lot. Adam Krigler knows me quite well. Carl Benjamin knows who I am. I've talked to Carl quite a bit. And I've spoken out about a lot of these things that have been happening over the last few years. Been part of the Canada Marches, spoke as part of their panel. What else? Starting to work with the CARES team. I'm part of the National Citizens Inquiry, which is getting set up to investigate the response to COVID, which is currently being done right now, and testimonies will be starting, I think, in March. But yeah, so I'm also one of the dirty under-vaccinated, because I was only vaccinated once and was injured as a result, which prevents me from working as a paramedic in Nova Scotia, because you're required to have 2 doses, because we healthcare workers in this province are still mandated to do so. Us and BC are the only places in Canada. What else can I tell you?
That's good.
I think I got most of it.
We're going to get into so much actually now. So first of all, how old? I got to ask how old you are.
How old do you think I am? You'll get it wrong, I guarantee.
28. No, it could be. Well, it could be 28. No, I'll say 33. I take it back. 33.
37.
Well, son of a bee sting. You look good, Chet. 37,
yeah, thank you.
Born and raised in Nova Scotia.
Yep.
And I won't get into the family stuff, and that's more for a different type of discussion. But you're an EMS, or I guess you were, but currently not working. But
so I'm registered as a primary care paramedic. I'm trained as an advanced care paramedic, but due to a workplace injury, the last leg of that certification got put on hold. And it's kind of part of how we got to where we're at now. I've been working in Nova Scotia since 2011, mostly in northern Nova Scotia. But the base that you work out of is just where you park your car in the morning and then you land anywhere in the province. I did my training in Halifax for the most part. And then when I went back to school a few years ago to get my ACP, that was in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I was there for 2 years getting my ACP.
Okay, I guess I want to get into one issue, and we're going to get into the fact that now policy-wise, Nova Scotia, double jabbed, unless you're double jabbed, you can't work at your job. And now Nova Scotia, I just posted the article, talked about it briefly yesterday. Another 37-year-old woman died waiting in the ER. Wait times are obscene. 588 people last year alone died waiting in the ER. So we'll see how all of this terrible policy results in the actual cost of life. But what was your in your training? What was your accident? What was your incident in your EMS training?
So it's a little bit of a convoluted thing. So the thing that put me off is I had like an actual workplace injury when I was going to school because I had come home to pick up a shift while I was going back to school. So I came home, worked on the ambulance for a weekend, and was injured on the job. And had requested that Holland College make accommodations because I'll just tell you, I had a seizure. Never had a seizure before in my life. Never had one since. And so I lost my driver's license for 6 months. So when you go to, whether you go to primary, get your primary care or your advanced care or your critical care paramedic, like there's your didactic portion of school. So you go in, it's like classroom and lab, and then you move into hospital clinical. And then from there, you go on to ambulance practicum or ambulance clinical. So, and you have all your classroom stuff, and then you have like certain competencies that you need to accomplish over the course of your hospital and ride time. And so, with not being able to drive, I said, "Hey, look, we got to figure this out. Can I do my ride time in Charlottetown, where the school is?" And everyone was in agreement. One of the guys that works on the day truck in Charlottetown, he was like, "Yeah, man, sounds great. Well, I'll even pick you up in the morning." Everyone knows what happened. It's just bad luck. Happens to people. Went through my hospital clinical placements, like 5 stars across the board. Was highly recommended by physicians and staff and whatnot. And then when it came to actual ambulance ride time placement, I was given the option at last minute. I could either go to basically the other end of PEI, which was 2 hours away, or I could go to Corner Brook, Newfoundland, and I needed to be there Monday morning after finishing a shift on a Friday night in the emergency room. Which I said, that's not possible. Not even even if I had my driver's license in my Jeep, like I can't get to Corner Brook, Newfoundland and find a place to live in 48 hours.
For anybody who doesn't know, Corner Brook, it's a different. You have to take a ferry to get there if you go by car, and the ferry, if you take it from one spot, it's 6 hours, and if you go to St. John's, it's like 12 hours or something.
No, yeah, it's ridiculous, and or you got to fly into St. John's and then drive across the province. Mm-hmm. And so, I got in touch with the guy I was supposed to do my ride time with, and it turns out he was assigned to my roommate and one of my best friends, who was like, "I'll just go somewhere else. It's fine. I don't care." Because we all know this is what Chet needs to do, and the school wouldn't have it. They told me to pound sand, and so I raised a stink with the student union and filed I guess like a grievance or or what have you. And then the school decided to double down and say, "Well, we're just going to kick you out of school because now we think you're a threat to patients and stuff, and we're not going to accommodate you because we don't do that." So I brought it before the Human Rights Commission, and that's where it still sits. And then going from that, had some big stressors from work come up with issues with. I'm not going to say specifically who or what, but like issues with things at work. And it just kept building on the stressors and then having to deal with lawyers. And then eventually me and my partner went on, when I finally got back to work, my partner and I went on a pretty bad 911 call where we had a 17-year-old girl in cardiac arrest. And fortunately we weren't able to resuscitate her. And
just I'll stop you there so that nobody has any hypothesizing. This is pre-COVID, 2019.
This is in would be in March of 2019.
Okay, so March 2019, 17-year-old girl cardiac arrest. Just so that nobody thinks this is the vaccine-induced part.
Yeah, it's not a vaccine thing. Okay. I won't say where it was, who it was.
No, it doesn't.
Like it was. it was a cardiac. She had an artificial cardiac valve, and it let go, and that caused issues.
And now is part of the reason why I understood very briefly from our discussion before we started that I understood or surmised part of the reason for which you were unable to potentially, arguably resuscitate was, were you having technical, like mechanical issues, equipment issues?
So on when fortunately that family, the volunteer fire department was right across the street, like the firehouse, and they were having like a fire hall meeting. And so they, as soon as the call went out, they were there in less than like 2 minutes. They just had to basically run across the road. But their AED failed after like first or second shock, I think. And then so they get there first, and then me and my partner show up maybe like 10 minutes later because we got to come from town to get to where we're going. And so what happened is when her valve had let go, and so you have blood. I'll spare you a lot of the gory details, but blood regurgitates back in the heart, back into the lungs, and then you have issues there. So you have a heart that's doing its job. It's trying to pump, but there's no blood there. So you have effectively pulseless electrical activity. So you're not getting a pulse because there's no blood pressure. And you can run that all you want, and eventually there's no volume there, so you can't. It's a lost cause ultimately in the end. But like we worked it as long as we could. We had problems with our gear, like our suction failed and whatnot, and we got her to the hospital. Her heart was still contracting, still trying to do its thing, but it wasn't moving anything because there was nothing there to move, and kept going. And I remember I called my supervisor and said, it's like, look, me and my partner just had a bad call. Here's what it was, and we're going to clean the truck, and we're going to go home, and that's it. That's the end of the day. We're done for the day. And us and the other crew, it took us a long time to clean the truck. And both me and my partner went home, and both ended up going off with PTSD after that due to complicated building of stressors and just a bad call. And it's just, you get to a point where it's like flicking a switch. Every time you flick a switch, your fight or flight response turns on, and if it keeps getting flicked enough, eventually it gets stuck on, and that's what happens. And so I went off work and was getting treatment for PTSD with like cognitive therapy and stuff, and was going to do like EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, which is the short version of it is, it's kind of like if you took a Clockwork Orange, but you did it for a good reason, like and was doing all that leading up to the fall of 2019. And in December, I was made aware by members of the Canadian Armed Forces that a lot of guys from Wuhan who competed in the military games there had come home from China, and they were really, really, really sick with pneumonia, and that things were happening in China, and there were some rumblings going on. And guy I know in the forces, he's just like, just keep your ear to the ground, because this is probably going to affect you guys at some point. You're probably going to see something come through work. And so I started paying attention, and kind of knew that something was off when like the World Health Organization came out and said like, hey, this isn't, when Taiwan said, hey, we got patient-to-patient transfer with this new virus and like some severe pneumonia, and WHO was like, nope, that's not a thing. And it's like, well, I know that's a thing because I have guys telling me about it. And then I started digging some more, and it's around the time, sometime in January, that's when around Tim Pool started his podcast with Adam Krigler. And I just reached out at one point and said, hey man, like, I'm paramedic, I'm off work. I know the like typical news media, they really suck at like dissecting what medical terminology and stuff means. So if you want some help, or if you want some good sources on try to learn some of this stuff as it's unfolding, I'll help you out. And he put me in touch with Adam Krigler, and me and Adam have been talking back and forth for 3 years now. Play games online together every once in a while. He's an awesome guy. You've spoken to him before. He's awesome.
Okay, now this is going to be the opportune moment, people. We're going to end it on Rumble and go over to YouTube. We're going to end it on YouTube. Go over to Rumble.
I probably got you demonetized already.
No, I don't care about. Forget that. I don't care about that. And this is going to go. I'm not. Hey, YouTube overlords. I'm not going to Rumble to do something that I can't do on YouTube, because I'm going to post the rest of this on YouTube tomorrow. We're just going to go do it to reward a company that actually allows us to have free and open discussion. We're going to get into your situation and what's going on in Canada. So everybody, ending on YouTube, 3, 2, 1.